right. I'm just making a follow-up to my chapter 8 exercise, like a part 2 here. We just had I just had some errors. Like I was thinking the dialog box should show up, but I found out what my issue is. So it's just this operator error for sure. So let's see here. What I've got is the assembly that we did, right? And I've got this one constrained. It's a little different assembly. Maybe I've got them named a little bit different, but it's okay. Don't worry too much about that. I just want to show what's on in my model space. I do need to, well, just a minute. Let me open up. Now I'm changing my mind. Let me open my in-class assembly, open it. This is the one we did together, which I built my parts slightly different, and I've ground and rooted that one, so my assembly is a little bit more stable here. Yes. Okay, so this is what I want to use. So this is where we were at. I just inserted that. I did do an extra constraint on it just to get the planes lined up, so I wasn't clocked funny. And then we just want to do an IPN presentation file for this particular assembly. So here's my assembly file. I'm going to open up a new presentation file, this IPN, create it. It wants to know what assembly I want to bring in to manipulate. So it is this chapter 8 exercise that we've been doing in class together. That's the last one I was just had open. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this one. And now my screen comes up correct. So what I had done, just so in case you know, or you ever do this, is that you can close these panels. You know, they're kind of like just like the same kind of docking palettes and panels in CAD. I can do the same thing here in Inventor, and I can actually close these panels. And where they are to reselect them really well, like this view here, what like this, shaded with edges, yes. So what I had was this, and I was going in to say, okay, I want to do my tweaks and work on my presentation here. I just didn't have the storyboard up and the if I ever do any snapshots or pictures of what I'm doing in my presentation here. I didn't have those loaded open. So those tabs are here, show the tabs. I can actually show all these different tabs. And so the only one I have open is my model tab, storyboards panel. There it is. It kind of like docks it. Here's my model browser. Here's my storyboards. I think defaults and how I usually like it is I'll pull this thing off. And this is just a dockable a dockable palette here. So I'm going to come down here and hover towards the bottom. And that when that blue light shows up, I can dock this thing to the bottom. I think this is where default it populates. I think I had moved mine or I had just hidden it and I just kind of forgot what the heck I did. So that is where I get my storyboard. So I get this kind of time frame, right? Almost like I'm making a little movie with a storyboard. This is storyboard one. If I wanted to create multiple storyboards, I could add a new storyboard here. And if you've ever done any kind of audio, video editing, it's kind of, to me, it reminds me of an auto video editor panel there. And then I get the storyboard panel is the other one that I usually like to have up, this or the snapshot views. The snapshot views is also now right here, just this little docked in here. You can pull this off. And then I think default it docks over here. I'm used to it being over here. And when I build out a presentation, if there's a certain orientation that I like of all my parts, I can take a snapshot of that. So I can create new storyboards, kind of audio video editing here, or maybe just visual editing here of what I've got going on. And then this is just kind of like still shots of that, which I may use to go put on my drawing and just have an exploded view of an assembly on my drawing. And then what and how we start to get all that ready is to do that tweak components. So I'll just retweak. Anyway, this is just kind of my part two. I don't really have to redo this. I think I did show that I tweaked my components like this part this way. I don't know. I went like 2.5 inches. It was nothing real critical. I entered that one. Maybe I went into another tweak component. These end up being separate tweaks, each one, right? So if I like choose this again and I pull this one, this is negative going up, right? So maybe I'll pull it up negative 1.5. Every time if I'm hitting enter on that thing and I look at my scene model browser now, these tweaks are populating as individual tweaks. Um, so I think I can group these together too, but I did mine as individual tweaks. I brought it back up, shows my particular parts that I was tweaking here, and then I don't know. In the video, they do something like this. Like here's a -5 direction tweak. So I've got these three tweaks, which you can go in and edit those as well. Go right back into this content editor. And then what? And then since my storyboard is open now in part two, since I kind of was wondering what the heck, I think I can play this, right? Yeah. Here's my play current storyboard. So it just does the tweaks that I made. It's kind of a mini little animation. I believe we can bring this out. Maybe I think when we played with the animation before, the resolution was not great in what it exported as a WMV file. I think when we and we'll get into that later. Maybe I can get a better imagery of this, but that's all I wanted to show was that this stuff can, and we didn't do any tweaks. Like exercise 8 didn't have us do any snapshots to make drawing files. So we'll explore that later. We can just call this done. I just want to recapture this part two, that this stuff sometimes gets buried on you. If you close it up like this, it disappears. You don't know where it is. This one might disappear. If I disappear this one, I may have a hard time finding where that is. Oh, I think it's always just accessible here. It doesn't totally go away, but you can always load them here. Yes. And I just think it was something I hadn't captured and something that I forget when if I close it, sometimes I forget where it's buried. And that is the case right there. There's my model browser. And then I just needed to add these other ones. Storyboard panel. Like I say, I don't remember removing those, but it just happened to be when mine opened, it wasn't there. Usually I kind of like, this is usually how I drive my presentation panel view. I got my storyboard up, I've got my snapshot views up. Everything kind of looks different. So it's a visual cue that I'm not in a normal model space. And then of course, Inventor's just open here. These other parts aren't in this type of a presentation. So when you snap over to them, they're just their normal browser, assembly file browser here. But this one goes to the storyboard looking presentation file. So I would save this one now. I'm going to save this. And this was kind of the one we did in class. So I'm going to save it right over that one. Yes. Yes. Okay. And there's a lot more we can do here. So I think this is just a brief flyover of an IPN file type and how it can bolster designs, animations, and drawings. So, okay. Catch you on the next one. V-twin.